is a lot of hype coming out based on Currency Cloud partnership and a lot of FUD too. So, what is the reality behind the scene? Let's first listen to the Currency Cloud team.
First off, what is unique about Currency Cloud?
Currency Cloud is unique in that over 200 companies are built on top of our platform. So our customers include banks, global payments companies, digital e-commerce platforms, digital software platforms, and essentially what we do for them is act as a central engine for processing their global payments. So there's two types of customers that we look at. One of them are companies that are operating payments businesses. And for them, we've processed over $25 billion in cross-border payments. So we have a lot of scale. So we can help them bring their prices down by buying as a group, as well as giving them tremendous operational efficiency by acting as a specialist organization that does nothing but build a global payments platform all day long.
So according to them, they are central engine for payments for banks and financial institutions. Okay, so the question here is, if they are already providing the best what the banks and financial institution needs, then why partner with Ripple? So that is kind of a question which pops out from there, right? So for that, we have to listen the next area of this video.
We're reimagining how money flows through the global digital economy. And what that means is basically today the world is getting ever more global, but international payments haven't seen tremendous innovation in the last few decades. So what we're really laser focused on is just making international payments as simple as domestic payments for our business customers.
Cool. Same vision as Ripple, the company. Just the difference here is Ripple provides banks and financial institutions with a software, right, through which they can do payments. Ripple is not the central party on on-demand liquidity platform, so a single point of failure is solved then and there. Now, if we actually go into Currency Cloud website itself, we can actually see how they work with their partners. And now, if you look at the speed of that transfer, now this is Currency Cloud Spark, which they use for international transfer. Now, this is dependent on the local payment rail used, meaning the infrastructure on which the current payment goes. How long it takes is depending upon the current infrastructure. So you understand that as we go further, you'll understand how this will evolve. Local GBP payments via faster payments. Okay. Local euro payments are generally received within few hours of payment depending upon the cut-off times of the sending bank. So there is an issue with the cut-off time, right? Then the local USD payments are received on the same or next day depending upon the amount sent and cut off the times by the sending bank. Now the time it takes for SWIFT funds to reach us is dependent on the bank, currency and the correspondent banking chain. So there is a difference, right? So it is still working on the current platform, current infrastructure, and it completely depends upon that one. So the banks are their own till that point, and then from there the Currency Cloud take the lead. So what does Ripple, the company, do? They just solves the entire issue. So unless Currency Cloud become a partner of Ripple and RippleNet, they won't actually excel in the near future. Now, why do we actually say that? Because the core infrastructure is changing and they were made to make payment, meaning the Currency Cloud were actually made to make their payments easy, as they told. The legacy system, it's still so slow, it's complex, and they are actually trying to make that entire infrastructure cool enough so they can actually excel. But what does Ripple, the company, do? Ripple is building a new infrastructure itself and onboarding central banks, commercial banks, and all the giants.
To feel and touch and see. In many respects, actually, if we do it right, you'll never know that this is what was behind the scenes. In some cases, you will. But that's where the big focus of the Digital Dollar Project is, around the specific use cases and where it has value and where it doesn't. I think one of the harder use cases, some of the biggest progress that we've made globally in domestic faster payments capabilities and things that we may interact with every day with Zelle or Venmo or PayPal or our ability to just with our bank send money back and forth to each other seamlessly from an end user perspective, working with central bank digital currency. If we do it right, they shouldn't see a difference. It should be as easy for for me to send you $10, or vice versa. It should be relatively transparent.
And as we listen to that, the conclusion from the moderator is what? That is important. just listen to that, then you'll understand how the entire infrastructure is actually changing.
And the like, a lot of what's going on is going to be behind the scenes.
So it almost sounds like beyond it being a digital dollar, you're also circumventing what some would argue is our archaic infrastructure, like a SWIFT or CHIPS or Fedwire. It would take on some of those characteristics and make it a little bit more frictionless. Is that what I'm hearing from?
Now that should be actually cool. They're actually moving in to a new infrastructure that should be understood clearly from there. Because if we actually move into the same Currency Cloud itself, when you actually go into that, you can actually understand today Currency Cloud has 85 different APIs, and they collect, convert, and pay and manage the entire workflow for business to business cross-border payments. So if we actually come into a different website and look at how that Currency Cloud and the payments from them actually works, you can actually see that the FX is there. So from one currency to another, it has to be actually done, and it supports low fees for SWIFT. So this is a third-party organization which actually integrates with banks and financial institutions to facilitate their payments, but on the current infrastructure. Now, why I say that? Come here and reads pre-funding integration. So you actually need to pre-fund your account there. So what does our asset actually do? It actually solves the entire issue. You don't have to actually go through all of this to do that. And when we actually jump back, you see how the APIs works, right? So previously, old content, we actually saw that how Volante actually does that. They use the API, the payment actually goes through that, the payment API is handled here, then the confirmation of payment settlement is received in the receiver's end, and you actually get that message back, right? The payment is actually sent via that, and you actually get the confirmation via that API itself. So it is kind of easy. Now in this particular item, you can actually see that now SWIFT is actually getting a lot of competition from a lot of different companies, in which you have Earthport here. Now we know that how we partnered with Earthport and how it is actually changing, and how Visa and MasterCard fought to get into this one, and now Visa actually acquired it, right? So these are some of the issues which they already have in their platform, which is solved by RippleNet itself. Now as we come down, you can actually see Currency Cloud here as new entrants who are like competing against SWIFT, and at the same point, what you can understand here is that they actually partnered with SWIFT, and what are they actually doing? They are actually working for SWIFT, right? They actually take in the details from their bank. So here it depends upon SWIFT funds to reach there. So first SWIFT goes through them. So SWIFT is actually working with them now because they were actually being threatened to kicked out of the entire opportunity. So they actually partnered with them. Now these guys are partnering with Ripple. So here you can see Ripple, how it actually works. Then on the summary of this one. But the key item here is if they were actually newcomer, which were actually directly disrupting the entire technology, entire infrastructure, they didn't actually need the help and support from Ripple. But now they are coming in. But the major reason for that is here. One is the pre-funded, second the currency conversion, third the fee provided for SWIFT. Now if they can actually integrate within Ripple, they can actually do that. And I saw a tweet from Currency Cloud itself, they stating that they are not using that digital asset. Now they only can say that as of now because this digital asset is actually shifting their attention from this pre-funding area, right, and the FX area. So if they want to get more benefit and provide more benefit for their customers, they can actually do that because currently they are on the same infrastructure as the old ones. Now in this one, Reuters actually shows that EU banks are directly taking on Visa and MasterCard payment system with their new payment system. And the previous contents, we actually saw how it is actually happening, right? EU is actually going into a new payment system, and how they are doing that, they're coming up with digital euro as of now. So once they actually jump into the new infrastructure, the old guys are kind of they don't have a way to excel. So in this one, it actually shows how the price can actually outperform BTC in the short term. They are not talking about the long term, but the short term. Why? If you actually consider the price action for BTC here, you can actually understand this is a weekly one. You can actually see that it may actually go down, correct to the bottom, and during that time usually we actually get an alt season that may actually come in the short term. So in these resistance can actually push the price of that asset down, and at the same time this will actually pump, because usually when BTC dominance goes down, the alts actually pumps very much. And the same information, but a relatively different perspective, but without changing from the direction, is actually laid out here. Price won't go down quietly because risk of bullish breakout actually grows. Now we all know that the underlying strength from the buyers are actually increasing. If you move out on a weekly or a monthly chart, you can actually understand how that is actually evolving. So when we actually went down to 0.17 and below that area, we actually understand that we have a strong support level around 0.16. So from there, the buyer's attention will actually come in. Now this one from Julian actually shows clearly that recession or a depression is currently ahead. When we saw that jobs, which actually the news actually points that 4.8 million new jobs were created, we are actually pumping up. But what you can actually understand is something different. It's not actually working in that particular way. So as you see this, you can actually understand once it falls, the economy actually follows, meaning the S&P 500 is actually following it to the downside. And we actually understand how these grayed out areas were actually recession and how it actually affected the entire community, meaning the entire economy. And as we move into ISO 20022, the interoperability layer, we actually have to understand this. What happens if an inbound payment is made using unsupported method, meaning, if they don't actually support it, it's going to be rejected to the sending bank itself. It's actually going to return to your account, and that's where interoperability comes in. If they are sending in their format, they should be actually able to accept that format, or at least take in that format and change it to their own format and process it. Now it's not actually possible. That's why I told in the current infrastructure, it's actually hard to do so. But that's the reason why we actually see they're changing the entire infrastructure, moving into a new payments era. Hope this will help if there are any doubts created by the fraudsters or even the hypers. So, you have to actually stay on a realistic path when you actually come in and put your capital inside this asset. So if you are not clear itself, you can actually comment me. We can actually discuss if you have any further comments. So I'm ending it here. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.